Welcome back to Focal Figures, where today I'm going to be expanding my mint loose Chella Toys Wrestling Megastars collection by unboxing the long-awaited Mind of the Meanie 2-pack.
Bit of blue, foot dance, bit of blue. He's blue, Alan. He's blue, he's gonna be good, he's blue.
There's actually just so much to talk about here. As I mentioned, this is a long-awaited pre-order that has finally just come in this week. The Mind of the Meanie 2-pack. So, as we know, Nick Aldis was the first figure released by Chella Toys in this line, the Wrestling Megastar line, and I unboxed him recently. I kind of explained my feelings about him at the time when I did my unboxing video about him. Initially, I wasn't sure. It took me a while to get on board. I had Nick Aldis for a while. I actually had him on card for a few weeks, and I think it was probably the news that Dynamite Kid was going to be released in this line that made me think about him a bit more, made me want to do an unboxing video for him. It got me more excited about the line. But since that last video, there's so much more to talk about. So we knew at the time of that last video that this was on pre-order. I had pre-ordered the Mind of the Meanie 2-pack at the time. And as well as the Mind of the Meanie guys, there was Ethan Page, who an indie guy who's recently signed for AEW, and the Dynamite Kid was coming. Tom Billington was coming up in the line as well. But since then, there's been a few more additions. Some of the internet buzz is starting to kick off around this line, and apparently there is a Hayabusa figure coming up, he's a Japanese hardcore wrestling legend, fairly lengthy time in ECW as well. And there's also a Bull Nakano figure that I'm not entirely sure if that's official yet, but there's been things bouncing around Facebook and Twitter and Instagram of sort of design proofs of her, which would be fantastic, because not only is that an iconic figure from this period, an iconic personality wrestler from this period. I mean, she was pretty well known during the 90s as the main rival, or one of the main rivals, to Alundra Blaze. I mean, you consider how much time and attention women's wrestling got at that time. You know, to be somebody, to be a name that people know and people are aware of from that time period as a female wrestler, that's a massive achievement. So to have her as a figure, but also because it would be the first female figure in this type of line, I suppose, the Hasbros, the Retros, the Cellas, the first female that we're getting in this form, so that would be awesome as well. And just recently there's been some chat online that there's going to be a Joey Knight figure as well. So Joey Knight, another indie guy, I believe he's Canadian indie guy, but he's made some appearances. He's certainly been on WWE's payroll a few times. I actually seen in one of the Facebook groups, he was talking about what he did in the WWE, and he's been in a few different skits and things that you would probably remember if you saw the list. He's been like an ambulance driver, an Undertaker druid, and all this type of stuff. But his indie personality is Joey Knight is his character, and he is apparently getting a figure in this line. So it looks like it's all kind of developing. It's all kind of growing, and I'm starting to get quite excited about this line. And I probably was getting excited about it before the Mind of the Meanie 2-pack actually arrived at my door. But now that I've got it, I think, yeah, this is awesome. This is fantastic. Just without even opening it up, without even looking at it in the flesh or the plastic, so to speak, it just looks awesome. It looks like a really good finish, a really good representation of the Blue Meanie anyway. So to talk about who these guys are, Blue Meanie, obviously ECW original, fairly lengthy stint in WWF, WWE as well, under the same gimmick, the same character, which I think is key to this, because I think people are talking about who they'd like to see retros and who they'd like to see made into this line, which wrestlers, which personalities would you like to see in this line. And I think the fact that Blue Meanie has been the Blue Meanie in ECW and in WWE, I think that's got something to do with it. Like, it's only going to be guys that own the rights to their own image. I think that if it's somebody that WWE owns the image rights for, like the kind of Razor Ramon Diesel scenario that happened when Scott Hall and Kevin Nash jumped, you're not going to get anybody who is under the control, or their image rights are under the control of WWE. It's going to have to be guys who have either been very smart with that side of things, or have probably not made it to that level where the WWE would want to take control of their image rights, or their intellectual property rights, if you like. So yeah, that'd probably be an indication of who you might be able to see in future lines of this series. But yeah, anyway, so Blue Meanie, pretty well known. I think if you're a half serious wrestling fan, you'll know who the Blue Meanie is. And he has a podcast, as most ex-wrestlers do now. He has a podcast, and this guy, Josh Chernoff, is the host of the podcast. Now, I'd never heard of Josh Chernoff. I don't know, I mean, full disclosure, I have no idea who the guy was. When this 2-pack was announced, now I knew of the Mind of the Meanie podcast. I never watched it, but I was aware of it. I think it had been like flagged up to me on YouTube as a suggested channel or something. I thought, oh, it's a Blue Meanie, but I've never really got into it. So it wasn't until the pre-production image for this came out with Josh Chernoff, I thought, oh, that must be the guy from the podcast. So went and watched a couple of episodes for it, and kind of know, like, at least now who he is, but I don't know a great deal about him. So I can't really comment on Chernoff. But what I would say is that, you know, he's done well here. Like, you can tell just by looking at it, before he even comes out of the bubble. I mean, he's looking fairly buff. Like, he's looking like he's in pretty good nick. And from what I've seen of the guy on YouTube, and even like this picture here in the card, I think he's fairly well represented in this figure. But anyway, yeah. So like I say, I'm so excited to get this. When I opened up, I thought that looks awesome. Can't wait to get these guys off card. And that's what's going to happen. They're coming off right now. Go. Right. So, first things first, my Blue Meanie has got a chipped nose. I'm absolutely devastated about that. Blue Meanie has got a little black scuff on his nose. I didn't notice that when it was in the packet, but he does. Oh man, that is absolutely devastating. Okay, let's try and get over that for the time being. That's gutting, absolutely gutting. He's got a chip on his nose. Yeah, right. So, but that aside, as a figure, this is pretty impressive. It is. It's pretty impressive. I mean, there's not much articulation to it. Waist doesn't move, legs don't move. I don't think head doesn't move either. But the size, the build, the facial features, everything, that's just a Blue Meanie. That is spot on for the Blue Meanie. Now, the details are pretty impressive as well. That is the logo for the Mind of the Meanie podcast. And obviously this is all his information. Blue Meanie, BWO, Mind of the Meanie, that's his Twitter handles. Yeah, that's really nice detail actually. It looks like that could be the same image that's used to print those t-shirts in real life. It looks like really clear, really detailed, pretty nice. Obviously I said this with Nick Aldis, or Nick Liddell, as a certain admin from the Legion of Hasbro Facebook group likes to call him. There's no move, you know, it's just like the arms just move up and down. There's no action, there's no spring-loaded action. I mean, I can live with that because, you know, let's face it, we're not going to be making them do any crazy suplexes or clotheslines or anything like that. But I don't understand why it's branded. Obviously, it's a kind of a throwback to the Hasbros, but why it says real wrestling action, real megastar action, the Blue Meanie dance, but it doesn't actually have an act. That it's just, maybe I'm just being nitpicky, but that's something that I just think, don't call it an action on the card. I know that the Hasbros had it there, real wrestling action, and this says real megastar action, but if it's not an action, don't call it an action. You know, anyway, I don't know, maybe I'm just being nitpicky. Yeah, so Blue Meanie, really nice, really cool, and absolutely gutted that he has a chipped nose. In fact, gutted is not the right word. I'm furious. I'm absolutely furious that he's got a black chip on his nose. Oh man. Right. Well, let's have a look at Chernoff and then we'll come back to that. Like I say, This guy has done very, very well for himself because he looks like he's shredded. That is a fairly well toned figure that he's looking like there, and I don't think he looks anything like this in real life. And what I would say as well is, if you put him next to Aldous, I think he's a bit taller than Aldous. Yeah, which I think is fairly inaccurate. I mean, I've talked in previous videos about like the Hasbros and the retros, how their scale kind of annoys me. But Nick Aldis is like 6'3", 6'4", something like that. And I mean, I've never seen Josh Chernoff standing up. I've only ever seen him on the podcast. So I don't know exactly how tall he is, but I'd imagine Nick Aldis is taller than him. I wouldn't think he's as tall as Nick Aldis. Microphone comes out his hand. That's pretty impressive. Although that is a fairly sizable hole that he goes in. I'm not sure how I feel about that. That looks a bit off. It's not like, I mean, if his hand was sort of like cupped, holding it, his fingers were gripping it or something, that would be one thing, but that is just like a massive hole in his hand. It's almost like the hacksaw hand from the Hasbro line, where it's in an unnaturally square position to hold the 2x4. Yeah, that's a wee bit off-putting. But Microphone has Mind of the Meanie logo on it as well, so pretty decent. Now, I have already heard a few people say that they want one of these guys to custom. I'm not really into that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't mind a decent custom, but I think that the announcers and referees and things done in suits that's been done to death. I think just if you're going to make a custom of a cool figure that that you haven't had that would fit in well with the Hasbros, like for example the Hollywood Blondes. Yeah, so I wouldn't really be into customizing him, but I think he's done very well he's the tallest of the three figures, and he looks like he's in pretty decent nick. So I think the guy would be looking at that and being very, very pleased with himself. So, like I say, Blue Meanie, my Blue Meanie has a chip nose. That's a nice figure. Just looking at it, it's kind of chunky, it's kind of weighty, and that might be the reason why the card arrived in the condition it did. So the card arrived in kind of banged up condition, and I've seen a few people online say that this is a common thing. My card had a crease up here, this corner was kind of like sort of wavy, crease on the back, and when you consider that the Nick Aldis that I bought the takeoff card, I ordered him at a discounted price because it was a damaged card, and when the card arrived it was hardly damaged at all. I mean, I wouldn't have classed it as damaged, a tiny little crease in one corner, but this one, which was a full price pre-order, has come with several creases on it. Now a lot of people have said when they've received their Mind of the Meanie 2-pack, the same thing happened. The card was all creased. A couple of people said actually Bubble was coming away, Bubble was damaged. So that made me think, because as I say, Meanie's a fairly weighty figure. He's quite chunky, and Josh doesn't weigh as much. Like in your hand, he doesn't feel as heavy. But the two of them together on the same card, that's fairly sort of weighty. And if the bubbles are falling off and the weight of them is making the card sort of warp and bend into itself, like, you know, slightly when it's in the packing, maybe that is one of the reasons. Because I always thought that the WWF Hasbro tag teams they stopped producing them for money reasons, like for a financial reason, because they could make more money selling off the tag team guys in individual releases. I just always assumed that's what it was. Why they decided in later lines, like the Steiners, the Head Shrinkers, the re-release Bushwhackers, the Smoking Guns, they all came out on separate card backs, individual card backs. I always thought it was like just to generate more funds, generate more income. But maybe it was something to do with the packing. Maybe it's because when you think about it, you very rarely see a very, very nice condition tag team set. I mean, if at all. When you think about it, people are still getting individual Hasbros graded at 90 grades, 85 grades, but tag team sets don't often get graded to a very high standard. I don't think I've ever seen a 90 graded tag team set, and just generally speaking, I don't think I've ever seen one that is in really nice gradable condition, you know, without actually being graded. So maybe it was a packing issue. Maybe it was just maybe they weren't arriving at retail outlets intact as often as they should have been. You know, maybe like the kind of collateral damage was was too high to keep producing the tag team sets. Because if the weight of 2 figures against the one card is going to cause damage, is going to cause the balls to come away, and retailers were going to start complaining about it, then you can see maybe they would change tack. But who knows? Maybe I'm way off with that, and it was always just about making money. But yeah, so like I say, my Meanie, I wasn't bothered about the condition of the card because I was always going to open these guys up. But my Meanie has got a chipped nose, and I'm going to have to buy another one now, I think. Somehow. They're sold out, though. You can't get any more. You can't buy them anymore. So, and as of yet, they haven't arrived on the secondary market, but I think that's only a matter of time because this is a really cool figure. This is one that people are going to, well, people obviously did want because the pre-orders were sold out, and I think people are going to want it in the secondary market. However, I have already ordered a second set of these. So this set that I got came from Chella Toys directly. So Chella are UK based. They're somewhere down south. I think it's somewhere in the kind of Midlands area that they're based. So obviously, me being in the UK, Chella in the UK, this came straight from them, Royal Mail, no problem at all. However, the Mind of the Meanie podcast are also selling these figures. So if you go to the Mind of the Meanie YouTube channel, Facebook page, Twitter handle, Instagram, you'll get a link to their store. And on their store, they're selling these 2-packs signed. So you can get the same set that I've just opened up, but signed by Chernoff and the Meanie. So I've already ordered one of those. And I also ordered, along with it, the pre-production proof, like the pre-production design image of the 2 figures, again, signed by Chernoff and the Meanie. So I've got that to look forward to coming in the post. And my intention was always for that, to keep that on card, to keep them in, because obviously they're signed. And I was even thinking about, if it arrived in better condition than this, if it arrived in good condition, I might get in touch with RWG and see if they could do some kind of grading on both pieces to put it in like a combined case, just as a display item. I don't know. I'll see what it looks like with how big the proof, the design proof is when it arrives. But now that I know that my Blue Meanie has a chipped nose, I might have to open up that second set when it arrives. I'm not entirely sure yet. I'll have to wait and see. Because I'm not sure if you can make that out, but that's noticeable, man. That's the type of thing that you notice that as soon as you look at his beak, you see that little black scuff. So I'm definitely going to have to get another one. I think definitely going to have to find another one. But for now he'll do. And I'll stick him up on the shelf next to Nick Liddell, next to Josh Chernoff, and cannot wait till the next batch of figs come out. I think the next one's Ethan Page. I think I've pre-ordered all the figs in this line that you can pre-order. I have pre-ordered. So I've pre-ordered Ethan Page. I've pre-ordered the Dynamite Kid, Tom Billington. I don't even know if Bill Meccano's official yet. I think it is now. But there's no pre-orders for her. And the other one that we just found out about, the night, I don't think that's official enough to be given pre-orders, to have pre-orders opened up just yet. So hopefully when they do open up the pre-orders for Joey Knight and for Bill Meccano, I'll get my orders in for those guys as well. And this is not going to be the end of this line. I think there's going to be more and more of these, Hayabusa as well, when the pre-orders come in for that one. I'll definitely get one of those. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be the end of this line. There's going to be more and more coming. The only guys on the card back at the moment are the ones that we know about, Ethan Page and Tom Billington. But when Nick Aldis came out, his card back just said Series 1 Nick Aldis, and then it was like mystery characters coming soon. So these guys are getting added to Series 1. Series 1 is growing as we go. So yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. Maybe Series 1 will just be the entire line, or will they stop at some point and say, okay, right, now we're going to go into Series 2? Don't know. Be interesting to see how they play it. But anyway, so far, I'm pretty impressed with what these guys are doing. I do quite like the finish on these figures. I think, other than the fact that they don't have an action move, there are no real drawbacks, no negatives. I mean, the detail is fantastic. The scales, I mean, it fits perfectly with the Hasbro guys. I would have liked Nick Aldis to be slightly taller. I think he should be, I think he's like 6'4". See him next to me. Oh, no. yeah, he's like same height as Meanie. But I suppose, you know, that's a gripe I've had with the Hasbros. It's a gripe I've had with the retros. So it's consistent, you know, with the whole sort of genre of these retro style figs. So yeah, it maybe would look a bit out of place if if their heights were all more to scale than they actually are. So I can live with that. Okay, so that's it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed that. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, share the video. Look out for the next videos that are coming in this chapter of my figure collection, because there will definitely be more of the Chella Toys Wrestling Megastars being unboxed on this channel. So other than that, stay safe and we'll speak soon.